You felt it, haven't you? That quiet, aching sense that something in this world doesn't quite add up. That the way we've been taught to work, to strive, to chase, it all feels like a game designed for you to lose. But what if I told you that once, long ago, a different path existed? A path so powerful, so liberating, that those who discovered it began to attract everything they desired, effortlessly. And then it disappeared. Or rather, it was hidden. They didn't burn the manuscripts. They buried the meaning. They made you believe that wealth was outside you, that power belonged to the chosen few, that you had to earn what was already yours. But something inside you never forgot. That's why you're here, listening now. Because some part of you remembers a time when reality responded to imagination, when your thoughts were not just idle dreams, but divine commands whispered into the fabric of existence itself. Neville Goddard called it the law of assumption. But even that name was just a doorway. Behind it lies something deeper, something ancient, a ritual not of candles or symbols, but of consciousness, a secret so simple that it almost feels like blasphemy. You don't ask, you don't beg, you don't chase, you become. That's what they didn't want you to know. Because the moment you become what you desire, you're no longer controlled by desire itself. You no longer need permission. You no longer bow to circumstance. You remember that you are the cause and not the effect. Pause for a moment. Think of all the times you've worked harder, hustled longer, pushed further, and still felt that emptiness, that invisible wall between you and the life you imagined. That wall was never real. It was made of thought, of belief, of repetition. Every "I can't" you've whispered in your mind became a brick. Every fear you entertained became cement. And tonight, that wall begins to crumble. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you taste truth, illusion no longer satisfies. This ritual begins not with action, but with recognition. The recognition that everything you see is yourself pushed out. Every person, every event, every disappointment. It all mirrors the state of your own inner world. You are not living in the world. You are living through your assumptions about it. And those assumptions are the quiet architects of your fate. Now imagine this. A version of you who already possesses everything you've been chasing. Close your mental eyes and see them. Their calm, their ease, their freedom. You think that version is future you, don't you? That if you just do enough, save enough, manifest enough, you'll become them someday. But Neville's greatest revelation was this. That version is you, now. If you dare to assume it, you can choose to keep waiting for proof. Or you can become the proof. You've been told to pray for wealth, to visualize success, to repeat affirmations like a mantra until the universe notices. But what if the universe was never separate from you? What if the prayer was never meant to go upward, but inward? Because when you assume the state of already having, your world rearranges itself to match. And that is the forbidden truth. It's why kings and priests and merchants kept this wisdom wrapped in metaphor and fear. Because if every person knew they could create from within, who would kneel? Who would obey? Who would serve? You feel that spark rising, don't you? That pulse of recognition in your chest. That's not motivation, that's memory. You're remembering that wealth is not something you find, it's something you awaken, and once awakened, it obeys you. So tonight, as you listen to these words, let them echo inside your imagination, not as information, but as activation. Because by the time this journey ends, you won't just know the ritual, you'll live it. You've probably wondered why something so powerful could disappear. Why, if the secret to wealth and freedom was always within reach, no one told you sooner? The truth is, someone did, many did. But their voices were buried beneath centuries of noise. You see, this ritual has never truly been lost. It moved like a whisper through time, carried in fragments, encoded in symbols, hidden in plain sight. Each generation received a piece of it, and most of them forgot. You can find traces of it in ancient Egypt, where priests spoke of the Ka, the double self, the inner image that commands reality. You can see it in the words of the mystics who said, "As within, so without." And you can hear it again, centuries later, in Neville's quiet voice, telling a room full of seekers that imagination is God. But between those echoes, there were those who silenced it. They learned that if a human being truly believed they could create their own destiny, the illusion of control would collapse, empires would crumble, religions would lose their grip. The few who ruled through fear and scarcity would have no subjects left to command. So they replaced the ritual of consciousness with the ritual of obedience. They built altars not in the mind but in marble. They told you to pray upward, not inward. They made you believe heaven was somewhere else, and that wealth was earned through suffering. And you believed it, because everyone around you did too. You learned to measure your worth by your effort, your value by your possessions, your peace by your bank balance. But deep inside, the old rhythm remained, faint, pulsing, waiting. The memory of creation without effort, of reality responding instantly to thought. And here's the twist, the one that no history book will tell you. Every so often one of us remembers. Someone awakens, and the pattern repeats. In the 1st century, it was the Gnostic teachers. In the Middle Ages, it was the alchemists, turning lead into gold, yes, but not with fire or metal, with mind. And then, in the 20th century, a man from Barbados stood before the world and said it again. Imagination creates reality. His name was Neville Goddard. He didn't discover the ritual, he remembered it. And the moment he did, the silence around it began to tremble. People gathered in small rooms, listening to his words as if hearing an ancient language for the first time. Because that's exactly what it was. A language older than any scripture, the language of assumption. When Neville spoke, you could feel something shift in the air. Not just inspiration, recognition. It was as if every cell of your being whispered, "Yes, this is how creation was always meant to work." He told people to imagine vividly, to live inside their wish fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not later, now. And when they did, things began to move. Jobs appeared, debts dissolved, strangers offered help at the exact right moment, because consciousness had remembered its power again. But just as before, the pattern repeated. Those in power labeled it dangerous, a cult, a delusion, because once again a truth had surfaced that made the world's structures tremble. You're feeling that tremble now, aren't you? That quiet sense that what you thought was real is only a reflection, that the real reality begins behind your eyes. And that's the beauty of this moment, because you're not just hearing a story, you're participating in the awakening itself. The ritual never needed temples, scriptures, or priests. It needed awareness, yours. That's why you found this, not by accident, but by resonance. You were drawn to these words because the same vibration that lived in Neville, that pulsed through the mystics, that glowed in the pyramids and whispered through forgotten scrolls, still lives inside you. And as you listen, that ancient rhythm begins to stir again, soft at first but growing, because once you remember that your imagination is divine, everything changes. Money stops being pursuit and becomes expression. Wealth stops being accumulation and becomes reflection. You no longer try to become rich. You realize that consciousness, your own awareness, is the wealth. This is the lineage you belong to, not of blood, but of awakening. And the moment you claim it, you stop being a seeker. You become the creator. That's the truth they feared. That's the inheritance they hid. But you found it again, and now you cannot unknow it. You've heard the stories. You've felt the echo of power inside the words, but knowledge means nothing until it becomes embodiment. And embodiment begins tonight. Close your eyes, not literally, but within. Withdraw for a moment from the noise of the world. Forget what time it is. Forget what day it is. Let go of the idea that you are watching or listening, because you're not, you're remembering. The ancient teachers called this moment the crossing. Neville called it the bridge of sleep. It is the threshold between who you think you are and who you truly are. The ritual begins when the outer world grows dim, when your mind, tired from its daily illusions, becomes soft enough to be reshaped. That's why Neville taught people to perform it right before sleep, because the conscious guard of logic begins to loosen its grip and imagination becomes law again. So you start with one question, not how can I get more, but who am I now that I already have it? Not tomorrow, not one day, now. Feel those words as they settle in your chest. I already have it. Not a wish, not a hope, a declaration. You might feel resistance. Your mind will whisper, that's not true. That's fine. The mind speaks the language of facts. The soul speaks the language of faith. And faith, as Neville said, is loyalty to the unseen reality. So tonight, your loyalty shifts. No longer to lack, no longer to waiting. You are loyal only to the feeling of already done. Picture a moment that implies your desire fulfilled. Not the money itself, but the proof that it arrived. A friend congratulating you, a loved one smiling at your success, a message that says, it worked. Don't just see it, feel it, the warmth of their voice, the lightness in your chest, the quiet certainty that all struggle has ended. That's the key. Emotion before evidence, assumption before sight. And now something shifts. The image stops being something you watch. It becomes something you inhabit. You are no longer imagining yourself as wealthy. You are the wealthy one imagining. Notice the difference. One chases, the other commands. You might think this is pretend. It isn't. Every great creation begins in that delicate space, the sacred intersection of imagination and faith. The world you see around you now is nothing more than imagination solidified, a dream so consistent that you began to call it real. But the dream is bending. Can you feel it? That subtle current in the air, as if your body recognizes the memory of abundance? That's not fantasy. That's recognition. That's the soul remembering its original frequency. So tonight, before sleep takes you, don't plead for change. Assume the change has already happened, not with words, but with state. Feel the room around you change in your awareness. It's the same room, but not the same you. The air feels lighter, the body feels safer. You no longer wonder when wealth will come, because you already know it is done. And when doubt whispers, and it will, you don't argue. You return to the feeling, you anchor into the state again and again until it becomes more real than what your senses report. This is the forgotten ritual. Not effort, not repetition, not struggle, just assumption in its purest form. It doesn't require willpower. It requires surrender, a surrender to certainty, because the world responds not to what you want, but to what you are. And in this moment, you are the consciousness of wealth, the vibration of abundance, the living memory of divine possession. Do you feel that stillness, that quiet expansion inside you? That's the point where imagination fuses with creation. That's where the invisible becomes inevitable. When you open your eyes tomorrow, nothing may seem different at first, but watch carefully. The outer world has begun to rearrange itself to match the new state you fell asleep in. An idea will come, a message, an opening where there used to be resistance, and you'll smile because you'll know the ritual is working. Neville said, "Dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part." And that's exactly what's happening now. You've crossed the bridge, you've remembered the hidden law, and from this night on, you will never again fall asleep as the version of you that lacks. You will rest only in fulfillment, Because wealth isn't coming, wealth is responding, and it's responding soon to you. You notice it first in the smallest moments, a coincidence that feels too precise to ignore, a message that arrives at the exact second you were thinking about it, an unexpected payment, a conversation that opens a door you didn't even know existed. At first, you call it luck, but something deeper whispers, no, this is alignment. Because once you perform the ritual, once you truly assume the state of wealth, the universe begins to reorganize itself around that assumption. You've changed your inner cause, so the outer effects can no longer stay the same. Neville said that the world is a mirror, and mirrors can't reflect an image that's no longer there. So when you stopped identifying with lack, everything built upon that identity started to dissolve. You might not notice it all at once. Some things will fall away. Old patterns, old relationships, old versions of you that can't survive in this new frequency. And that's the part that no one tells you. The law is simple, but not always gentle. When you move from poverty in consciousness to wealth in consciousness, the shift doesn't happen around you. It happens through you. It dismantles everything that contradicts the new state you've assumed, and sometimes that means loss, not punishment, purification. You may find yourself suddenly uninterested in people or habits that once felt essential. You may feel moments of emptiness, as if you're floating between worlds, because you are. One foot in the dream of the old self, one foot in the reality of the new. And then, quietly, the new world begins to take shape. A new sense of ease enters your mornings. You start catching yourself smiling for no reason. You look at your reflection and notice something, not about how you look, but about who's looking. It's as if your eyes remember something they used to know. The first real sign of the ritual working is not money, not success, not opportunity, it's peace, a peace that feels undeserved because your old self still believes in struggle, but peace is the proof. It's the echo of alignment. You begin to sense that wealth is not something that arrives, it's something that answers. You realize that every thought you had, every assumption you fed was a kind of prayer. And the world was always listening. Now it's responding to the new signal you're broadcasting. This is where the mind tries to interfere. It will tell you it's coincidence. It will try to drag you back to logic, because the mind fears losing control. It doesn't understand that you're not breaking reality. You're reclaiming it. So when doubt creeps in, don't argue with it. Just return to your feeling of certainty. Return to the moment before sleep, where it was already done, because that feeling is the language creation understands. Days pass, then weeks. You notice that people treat you differently. They listen when you speak. They mirror your calm, your assurance, because they're responding not to your words, but to your new vibration. Someone calls with an offer. Another opportunity appears out of nowhere. You laugh because it feels so easy, and yet a part of you still wonders if it's real. It is. But here's the final test. Can you receive without disbelief? The universe gives according to state, and if your state says, I am worthy, then everything that matches that vibration will find its way to you. But if you slip back into doubt, you block the flow. Not because the gift is gone, but because your hands are closed. So stay open. Trust the movement. When something leaves, whisper, thank you. When something arrives, whisper, of course. Because both are proof that reality is bending to meet you. You'll start to notice repeating numbers, phrases that appear again and again, people who say exactly what you needed to hear. Don't brush it off. That's consciousness winking at you, reminding you that the ritual didn't just work once, it's working continuously. Wealth begins to flow in ways that defy logic. A refund, a forgotten check, a gift that seems random but carries precision. Every time you'll remember this truth. None of it came to you, it came from you. And the more you acknowledge that, the faster the mirror clears. You realize that manifestation isn't about commanding reality, it's about remembering identity. When you stop identifying as someone who needs and start identifying as someone who is, life rushes to confirm it. So when the signs appear, don't chase them, don't cling. Simply smile and say, "It's unfolding exactly as it should," because that calm certainty is what keeps the current alive. And as that certainty deepens, you begin to feel something even greater. Gratitude, not for what's coming, but for what's always been yours. That's when the line between imagination and reality fades completely. You're not pretending anymore. You're remembering the truth. You have always been the source. You have come far, farther than you think. When you first heard these words, you were seeking something outside yourself, a secret, a key, a ritual. But what you found is not a technique, it's recognition. You used to imagine wealth as something that lived beyond you, something that might one day find its way to you if you prayed hard enough, worked long enough, waited patiently enough. But that idea has begun to dissolve, hasn't it? Because now you sense it, the truth humming underneath every word you've heard. You are not the one searching for wealth. You are the source it has always come from. You realize that the ritual was never about attracting anything. It was about awakening the consciousness that everything already exists within you. The dream of lack was only that, a dream. And you, the dreamer, have finally stirred. This is the return, not to something new, but to what has always been. The mind tries to make it complicated, but the heart knows it's simple. The truth has been sitting quietly in the background of every moment of your life, waiting for you to stop trying so hard. Listen, there is no distance between you and abundance. There is no waiting period, no process of earning, no ladder to climb. There is only awareness, either contracted by fear or expanded by faith. And right now, you are expanding. Can you feel it? That subtle warmth in your chest when you imagine ease. That quiet knowing that nothing is missing. That's the signal of alignment. That's what Neville meant when he said, "Be still and know that you are God." You've tested the law and the law has responded. The coincidences, the synchronicities, the effortless shifts, they were never proofs you had to earn. They were reflections of your remembrance. Now the final step is integration. You must stop dividing yourself into the one who manifests and the one who receives. There is only being. Being is the ritual. From now on, when you desire something, don't chase it. Simply recognize that the version of you who already has it is real as the breath you're taking right now. Move through your days from that identity. Let it inform your posture, your tone, your silence, because the universe no longer needs to be persuaded. It is you. It always was. You start to notice the simplicity of it all. You wake up in the morning, and instead of asking, "What will I get today?" you ask, "Who will I be today?" And the answer always returns, "I will be abundance," not because of the number in your account, but because of the fullness in your awareness. And in that state, life flows to you effortlessly. The people who align with your frequency appear. Opportunities emerge with uncanny precision. Even moments of challenge reveal hidden gifts. Because the world is no longer happening to you, it's happening through you. Neville once said, "There is no one to change but self." Now you understand what he meant. When you change the self you assume yourself to be, you change the entire world you inhabit. So what happens now? You live, you breathe, you enjoy the unfolding. You stop treating spirituality like a task and begin to experience it as play. You create because you can, not because you need. And wealth, true wealth, is no longer a number, but a rhythm. It is the ease of knowing that every desire carries its own fulfillment. It is the peace of no longer needing proof. You've returned to the source, and the source has returned to you. The search has ended. The striving has dissolved. You rest in the awareness that you are the law itself. And in this realization, everything becomes simple again. You close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to see it more clearly from within. You no longer pray to an external force. You remember that imagination is prayer, that assumption is creation, that your consciousness is the altar of God. Now each night before you sleep, you no longer repeat the ritual to get something. You perform it as a celebration of what already is. You fall asleep not as a beggar, but as the embodiment of fulfillment. And when you wake, you carry that state into every conversation, every decision, every breath, because you know whatever you imagine, you become. Whatever you assume, you experience. Whatever you give attention to, you give life to. So live from the awareness of being the source. Walk through the world as the dreamer who knows the dream. And if ever you forget, even for a moment, close your eyes, return inward, and whisper to yourself, "It was never hidden from me. I had only forgotten to look within." You are not learning this truth. You are remembering it. And as you remember, your world reshapes itself to reflect the power you've always had. The ritual is no longer ancient. It is alive. It breathes in you now. You are the temple, the prayer, the gold, the God. And the world is already bowing to your awareness. You've reached the quiet after the revelation, the space where words fall away and only knowing remains. Everything you have heard has not been teaching. It has been remembrance. You began this journey searching for a secret, a ritual that could summon wealth, a way to bend reality to your will. And somewhere along the path, you discovered that reality was never outside you at all. The wealth you imagined was simply the reflection of your own being, waiting for you to recognize it. You didn't learn to manifest. You learned to remember. In this stillness, there is no effort, no reaching, no waiting, only the calm rhythm of awareness expanding into its rightful size. You are no longer a seeker, you are a revealer. Where you walk, new worlds form. Where you look, abundance answers. Because what you see is yourself expressed. You can feel it now. That golden hum beneath your thoughts, the pulse of consciousness that never fades. That is the real ritual. To return again and again to the truth that imagination and reality are one continuous motion. Every night, when you close your eyes, you step back into the workshop of creation. And every morning when you wake, you step into your masterpiece. There is no separation. There never was. So live gently now. Speak deliberately. Love generously. Let wealth, love, and peace flow through you as naturally as breath, because you are not the student of the law anymore. You are its living proof. You are the dreamer fully awake in the dream. And if ever you forget, remember these words, not as something to believe, but as something you already are. You are imagining right now, and what you imagine, you become.